New Zealand is an island country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. It has two main landmasses, the North Island and the South Island, and more than 700 other small islands, covering a total area of just over 103,000 square miles, and is located about 1,200 miles east of Australia. The capital city of New Zealand is Wellington. Wellington holds the title of the world's windiest city. New Zealand's population currently comes in at just over 5 million people. Almost half of New Zealanders do not follow any religion, but those that do are mostly of the Christian faith. New Zealand has a constitutional monarchy, along with a parliamentary system of government. Queen Elizabeth II is currently the chief of state. New Zealand was originally discovered by the Polynesians around 1200 to 1300 CE and was settled by the Maori people. The New Zealanders' current culture leans increasingly on Maori symbolism in art and literature. The official language is English, but all government institutions and some private ones use Maori as well. New Zealanders are known as friendly, outgoing, and welcoming people. Their culture is extremely informal and relaxed. In fact, the 2015 Global Peace Index identified New Zealand as the fourth safest country in the world. The culture of the Maori people affects the language, the arts, and even the accents of all New Zealanders. Their love of outdoors, sports, and arts make New Zealanders and their culture incredibly unique. New Zealand is known for their visual art of the Maori that mostly consists of four forms: carving, tattooing, the tā moko, weaving, and painting. The tā moko is a traditional Maori tattoo, which is often on the face. It is a unique expression of their cultural heritage and identity. It reflects the individual's ancestry and personal history. In earlier times, it was an important signifier of social rank, skill, and eligibility to marry. The haka is a type of ceremonial dance or challenge in Maori culture. It is usually done in a group with vigorous body movements, foot stomping, and rhythmic chants, and is usually a display of a tribe's pride, strength, and unity. Music in New Zealand has Western and Polynesian influences, and one of New Zealand's most famous artists is a painter named Colin McCann. Additionally, you might not know that some major blockbuster hits have been filmed in New Zealand, and who could blame them? New Zealand has some of the most breathtaking scenery and landscapes in the world. Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, the Hobbit trilogy, Wolverine, the Piano, and Mission Impossible 6. The cuisine in New Zealand pulls from their Polynesian and Asian European roots. Since they are completely surrounded by water, New Zealand is home to some of the best seafood in the world. Another type of food in New Zealand is the Maori hangi, which is a traditional earth oven style cooking and is usually reserved for special occasions. In New Zealand, family structures, customs, and dynamics vary between ethnic groups. The domestic unit in New Zealand is nuclear for the most part. They are also very individualistic as people, do-it-yourself mentality, and a strong desire to make it on your own. However, their drive to succeed is also somewhat ironically tamped down by their love of the underdog, as they will not hesitate to cut someone down to size if they're seen as overly successful or come across as arrogant or superior in any way. This phenomenon is referred to as tall poppy syndrome. So in New Zealand and Australia, you can be successful, but you must absolutely remain humble and unpretentious. The education system in New Zealand is free between the ages of 5 and 19 at state schools, as long as you're a New Zealand citizen or a permanent resident. Their schools are based on a British model and are broken into primary, intermediate, and high school levels. English is the dominant language in the education system, but Maori is taught in many of their schools due to the large indigenous population. The healthcare system in New Zealand is universal, which is funded publicly through taxes and by the government. It's free to access or very low cost if you're a citizen, resident, or have a work visa valid for at least 2 years. They also have the option of taking medical insurance for private healthcare, but most do not. New Zealand is often considered to be one of the greenest countries in the world in terms of their environment, but it doesn't paint an entirely accurate picture. With their manufacturing industry growing and their economy booming, they have seen a steady increase in their carbon emissions, and they are on the cusp of a very severe freshwater crisis. Unfortunately, urbanization has been a double-edged sword for them, just as it's been for so many others.